But after this, they returned right back to CGI, and it's it's subjective. It's whatever you prefer. I personally really like the hand drawn animation. I prefer that, especially since that's what Disney was from like the 20s all the way up until they made Dinosaur and at the turn of the millennium. So it's like for almost 100 years, Disney was hand drawn animation, and it kind of had its own style. They differentiate sometimes, but for the most part, it had a look. And I feel like Disney's kind of lost that. They've kind of lost their look. They've kind of lost their style of animation, their style of film, the way they told stories. I feel like it kind of gets lost at this point, and it kind of also blurs the line of like what's Disney and what's Pixar, because a lot of people I talk to now have no clue what movies are Pixar and what movies are Disney Animation Studios. Except some people think like Brave was Disney and Wreck-It Ralph was Pixar. And then some people even think like, Frozen was Pixar and like Finding Nemo was Disney. Like, no, some people don't even know there's a difference. They think Pixar and Disney are one and the same. It's just another word for Disney. So I feel like they really lost their identity at this point. And I just don't understand why, if they own Pixar and Pixar's an in-house studio and their whole thing from the beginning was CG movies, why would you then do the same thing with your studio that's completely different already, that already had its own identity? Why would you just change it into the same identity as your other in-house studio? And then they even bought Blue Sky, and they still released like a movie or two after they bought them, like Spies in the Skies or whatever. And it's like, how many CG in-house animation studios do you need? So I really feel like Disney animation should be two-dimensional. It should be traditional artwork. I've heard rumors that they may be doing that. They may at least be making one like 2D animated movie again soon, which I will be very happy to see. I really hope that's true. Because for me, even though I still love a lot of these movies from the Resurgence, starting with Tangled, this is called the Resurgence era, but I really do miss the 2D animation. I feel like it's so much more expressive. There's so much more you can do with it that you can't do with 3D models. Even when they try to do it in 3D, it looks kind of weird. Like, I remember in that, like, before Coco, there was that annoying, like, Olaf Christmas thing that was, like, 3 hours long. And in there, they have, like, Sven is doing, like, the Courage the Cowardly Dog thing, where he's, like, transforming into other people and objects to like a game of charades to let Kristoff know what he's trying to say, and he like transforms into like the shape of a snowman to indicate Olaf, but it looks so gross and creepy because he's like still realistically hairy and stuff, so he just like warps in shape, and it doesn't look good in CG. It looks really scary in CG actually. Yeah, I don't know. It just like certain things feel weird when you do them in CG, and you can do anything. You can make each frame look completely different. You can just draw it however you want in 2D, whereas in CG you're always working with the same model, so it's kind of just moving. It's almost like more like stop motion, but like it's somewhere in between. It's like somewhere in between like hand drawn animation and stop motion. It's weird. But yeah, Tangled. So what I heard is like they were gonna try a traditionally animated princess movie and a CG animated princess movie, and whichever one was more successful is what they would go with. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I heard back in the day when these movies were coming out, but that could have just been a rumor because that doesn't sound 100% believable. But if it was, I mean, regardless, that's what happened. The Princess and the Frog somehow did not do well. They didn't advertise it very much, but Princess and the Frog, I wouldn't say it was an all-out bomb, but it kind of was. And Tangled was hugely successful. I do like Tangled a lot. Even though, yes, it looks like the modern era and stuff, Tangled feels the most like a classic Disney fairy tale of all the Resurgence films. But originally when making this like list, I kind of thought Tangled would go somewhere around here, like before Cinderella. But honestly, when I really think about it, that feels wrong. I don't think I enjoy Tangled more than any of the top 5 I have in B right now. So I would probably put Tangled there, like 6th in B, after Mulan, because it is really good. But I don't think it's quite as good as I was originally going to place. I remember when I was thinking, I was just making these graphics and stuff. I was thinking like, it would probably fall somewhere around there. But no, I don't think so, because I would much rather watch Mulan or Hercules any day over Tangled. But Tangled is still really good. I do like Tangled. It's really fun. The songs are pretty good. It doesn't have the best songs. I think like they're a bit weak. Like they're memorable. Mother Knows Best is memorable and stuff, but they're not like the greatest. I find the song with like the lanterns and stuff also, I don't even ever remember how it goes, but every time I hear it, I'm just like, it doesn't sound like a Disney song. It doesn't really have that like theater sound. It just kind of sounds like a pop song you would hear on the radio at the time. And I know it's Mandy Moore, so like she is just a pop star, but like it really just sounds like a pop song. I kind of have that problem with Reflection. I might have already even said that in this video. I don't even remember what I've said in this video anymore. It's gone on so long. I mean, you can clearly tell time has passed. I'm wearing a different outfit than I was when I started. But yes, some of them just sound like pop songs and not Disney songs. And I kind of feel like a lot of the Tangled soundtrack is kind of like that. I Got a Dream is definitely the most fun song in the soundtrack, but it's just got great characters, though. Like, Rapunzel is a great character. You really like her and care about her. Flynn Rider is a great character. You really like him and care about him. And Mother Gothel is great because she's like one of the last actual villains we've ever had in a Disney movie. It does feel a bit generic. It doesn't really have like a unique, charming identity like the way Little Mermaid or Aladdin does, where they have like a theme. But I think that almost works. It's almost what Disney needed at the time. They kind of needed to go back to just a basic European fairy tale fantasy with princesses and castles and stuff like that. Like, they had to get back to their roots, no pun intended. And I think this was the way to go. This is a weird point, though, where they couldn't name the movie after the source material anymore. So instead of calling it Rapunzel, it's called Tangled, which is fine, but like, it's a bit weird. That kept going on. And I mean, they barely made adaptations of, folklore after this, but they just kind of make up all their movies now. But yeah, it's good. I like Tangled. I think Tangled is a lot of fun, and I think it's an easy crowd pleaser. I feel like most people who see it like it. I can't imagine someone watching it and like hating it. I feel like it's a pretty likable movie. It has aged well. A lot of the comedy is still good. Flynn Rider's still a funny guy and stuff. The setup of the characters, the dynamic of the characters is good in the movie, but I will bring up issues with it soon. Alright, and then absolutely no one remembers there was actually one more hand-drawn Disney animation film after Tangled. We got Winnie the Pooh. This is a weird case like Rescuers Down Under coming out in between Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, where like it just feels like it was something they already had on the docket and they had to finish it because it was so much work had already gone into it, so they had to just put it out even though they clearly didn't want to put it out. It's not that good. It's fine. It's Pooh. It feels a bit too zany and aggressive for me personally to be Pooh. I'm very particular about Pooh. I feel like Winnie the Pooh has to be like very heartwarming and wholesome and a little more like snuggly and all than the rest of the Disney library. I don't expect as much zany slapstick and like crazy stuff going on in Winnie the Pooh, and there's some scenes that are just like off the wall. But I will say the comedy is surprisingly really funny in this movie. There's a point where they're stuck in a hole and Owl flies out of the hole to check something to see if they can get out. and then flies right back in, and everyone's just staring at him with their mouths open, like, wait, you could have done that the whole time? And he just looks at everyone, he's like, what? Like, it's the way I'm describing it sounds terrible, but it's really funny in the movie. But yeah, I feel like it's a little too zany, the movie. It doesn't really feel like Winnie the Pooh. It feels a bit more like someone who worked on Tiny Toons trying to capture Winnie the Pooh or something. Like, it's not that crazy, but it kind of feels like that, somewhere in between. There's really not much to say about this movie. The movie feels like it's 10 minutes long. Like, when it ends, you think, like, oh, that's the first segment ending. Now there's going to be another story, like in many of the adventures. But no, it's just one of the stories from House at Pooh Corner. Actually, I have the book. That was the first non-picture book I was ever given as a kid. My oldest sister gave it to me for Christmas. I actually still has to Brendan from my sister and stuff written in it, so that's cute. But yeah, it's just one of those random stories from that. So, because the Pooh books were just a bunch of like short stories, and so I feel like the anthology style for the first one worked really well with it. But this in no way recaptures the essence of the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh or the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. It's not bad, but it's extremely unmemorable, and most people don't even know it existed. But it's a milestone, and that is the last hand-drawn animated film Disney ever made, and that was back in 2011. So it's been a long time. It's been, what, like 14 years since they made one. But after that, they did Wreck-It Ralph, which this was apparently in development since the 80s, or at least, like, not in development, but like it was an idea they came up with back in the 80s when arcade games were really popular. And I think it's actually better they did it now. We're just gonna put it up here because I really like Wreck-It Ralph, so going at A tier, middle of A tier. But I think it was actually better they did it when they did it in like the early 2010s, because that's when there was a lot of 80s nostalgia, you know, stuff like Angry Video Game Nerd and all these online reviewers like trying to recapture the nostalgia of the 80s and early 90s and old video games and stuff was really big at that time. And I just remember getting excited. This is the movie that actually got me back into Disney. I think it's one of the reasons why I have always had such a special place in it, for it in my heart, is because, like I said, I was going through this Disney hating phase. And I remember reading Nintendo Power, of all things. Yes, they were still making Nintendo Power when this movie was coming out. There was a segment about it, and they were saying, like, oh, it's going to be this movie about an arcade character, if arcade games could come to life, and it's going to have Zangief in it, and Bowser, and Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm just like, holy crap, all these characters are going to be in a movie? And that was enough to sell me on it, because I was, like, super into, you know, games and everything. So, to me, that was, like, I needed to see this. So me and my brother went and saw that one in theaters, and we went in, like, expecting to hate it, like, oh, we're just going here for the game characters, like, the movie's not going to be good. And then we loved it, and it was like, oh my god, this movie is amazing. And I got like really into Wreck-It Ralph for a bit. I must have watched it like 6 or 7 times over the next like 3 years. I really liked Wreck-It Ralph. It doesn't quite feel like a Disney Animation Studios film. It feels more like a Pixar movie, honestly, because Pixar does that a lot of like, imagine if this thing lived like humans in a human-like society. Like they did that with cars and bugs and toys and fish. Like that's kind of their thing. They've done that a lot. So like Wreck-It Ralph fits more into that, and it's also like, you know, it's modern time. Like it took place in the time when the film was out, and I get that. Like so did like Lady and the Tramp and 101 Dalmatians, but they still, like, you know, they were the ultra technology heavy days. Like there's not really like technology in those movies. It still feels like it could have happened in like this more like simpler kind of world, more just like warm, wholesome world. But when you start bringing in like video games and cell phones and stuff like that, it starts to like lose that fairy tale fantasy warm, cozy feeling, and it kind of becomes too real. But Wreck-It Ralph is still amazing regardless, even if I don't think it really fits in very well with Disney Animation Studios. But Wreck-It Ralph just did a really good job at having a lot of heart. The characters are really likable. The comedy is very funny. But the main thing is the heart that it has. And it has so much emotion in it. For something you wouldn't think would. Something that's just a bunch of video game cameos. You wouldn't expect it to have that much heart. But that's the beautiful thing about Wreck-It Ralph, is unlike movies today, or movies after it, I should say, like Ready Player One, or Space Jam 2, or Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, all the other random stuff they made that's just a bunch of references to cameos and references and Easter egg hunts for a bunch of random pop culture stuff. Unlike that, Wreck-It Ralph did that, but there's actually an in-universe reason why it should be like that, and it makes sense. It does't feel desperate. It feels like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's in an arcade. But that's not the point of the movie. There's a little bit of it. It's actually not even that much. It's mostly in the beginning, but it revolves around the main four characters, or protagonists, and I guess King Candy, that they invented 100% on their own, and the worlds they live in, which are games they completely made up. So it's really about the characters they made up, and there's a lot of story to them, and a lot of heart to them, and a lot of personality to everything. And the cameos are just kind of like extra little seasoning on the side. It's like you can also have fun pointing out Pac-Man and Frogger and Taizo Hori from Dig Dug and stuff. But it's really good. I think Wreck-It Ralph is still a really darn good movie. Probably the best of the Resurgence, in my opinion. Actually, definitely the best of the Resurgence, in my opinion. Next up is the big one. Everyone knows, Frozen. Originally, when I was thinking of this list, I imagined it would go higher, like somewhere in B tier, like somewhere like around here or whatever. But honestly, I don't know. I don't really know where I would put Frozen now. It probably will still go in B tier. This is the first really hard ranking, actually, I've had to do. So I would rather watch Frozen than Fox and the Hound. I'd probably rather watch Frozen than Rescuers Down Under. It's probably a better movie than Emperor's New Groove. I'll put it here. I'd probably rather watch Emperor's New Groove, but Frozen's probably objectively a better movie. I know Frozen is one of those, like, you either love it or you hate it. I think that the hate for Frozen's over. That was just kind of like a corny thing people did when they pretended that they couldn't escape it. They're like, oh my god, I'm hearing Let It Go everywhere, it's driving me crazy. And like, they don't even have kids. It's like, if you're hearing that song, it's because you're going out of your way to hear that song. I didn't hear that song playing in supermarkets and crap at the time. Like, if you were hearing it, you were trying to hear it. Stop pretending you hate the movie just because it got too popular. But anyway, Frozen it's good. I don't want to, just be like, oh, Frozen's not that great just because it's popular. It is good. It is objectively entertaining. I do think it's a bit of a mess. It's a little all over the place. And I'll probably talk more about it when we get to Frozen 2. But Frozen 1's pretty good. It was being rewritten up until, like, the day before it got put in theaters. And that's pretty obvious, because things just kind of keep happening. And it almost seems they're making it up as they're going along. Elsa was originally going to be a villain at some point, and that makes a lot of sense, because she does some horrible stuff. Like, I understand that she had horrible things happen to her, but we'll talk about it more when we get to Frozen 2. Frozen 1 is okay. Obviously, it has some catchy songs. Not my favorite Disney songs, but it has some catchy songs. It's definitely memorable. It definitely had a huge impact on the 2010s and everything. I'm sure that whole generation was affected by Frozen. It's supposed to be the Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen. It's not the same story at all. But yeah, I like Frozen. I don't love Frozen. My least favorite thing about Frozen is probably Olaf. I really, really hate Olaf. I really hate not just the way he looks. I don't love the way he looks. I think he looks pretty stupid. But he's, again, with these like a-hole characters, he like plays dumb. He's supposed to be like, oh, he's a snowman, he just came to life, he doesn't know what he's saying, isn't that cute, ha ha ha. But it doesn't come off that way. It comes off like he's being a jerk and just saying really nasty things to people with a big dumb smile on his face, like like he's just being a jerk and then acting all innocent, like, you mad bro, afterwards. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying, but you're ugly and old and you deserve to die. And it's like, come on, dude, you're just being an a-hole. But they pass it off like it's cute and lovable. It's like, that's not cute and lovable. If someone acts like that, they're an a-hole. Nobody likes them. So I don't like Olaf at all. It is weird. I remember when this movie had the first like teaser trailer came out. This was before anyone was like familiar with like the human characters and stuff. It was just Sven trying to get the carrot from Olaf's nose, and it was just like a little Tom and Jerry skit kind of thing. And I remember the comments were just full of people saying that Olaf's design was so weird and ugly looking, and that was like the worst design for a snowman character ever. I guess everyone changed their minds, because everyone loved that character after that. He's one of the most marketable Disney characters since then. So people love him. People love a-holes. So I don't know. I don't like Olaf. Really at all. But I like the other characters, especially Anna. Anna's my favorite character. But Big Hero 6, I'd probably put it definitely above Frozen. I don't know if I would put it higher. I kind of want to put it considerably higher. But I don't know. I think I like Robin Hood more. I guess we can do... Nah, I'm going to put it here, honestly, in B tier. Seems a little low, but when I look at everything above it, it's like, nah, that's kind of where it belongs. But I do like it better than Frozen. Again, it doesn't feel like a Disney movie because it's, you know, futuristic and stuff. It's urban. But it's also the only time they ever adapted a comic book. Because, you know, they usually adapt literary sources, which, I mean, they kind of stopped doing that in the 2000s. Like, every now and then they do it, but usually they don't. But this was the first time they adapted a Marvel comic book. They took one that no one knows about, no one cares about, so no one's going to care if you change it a lot. I don't know anything about the original Big Hero 6. I'm not going to pretend I do. But it definitely makes it feel different from Disney. It's just another one of those movies that really helped us like get away from what Disney traditionally has felt like. And it's fun. I like it. I think the stuff with Hiro and Takashi, is that his brother's name? And Baymax, like those three characters are really well written. And the professor or whatever he is at the university, he's well written. But all the other members of the Big Hero 6, kind of just realizing what a weird name that is, what a weird order of words that is. But I like them, but they're pretty one note. There's just, oh, here's the one who worries about everything. Oh, here's the wacky, fun one that you're supposed to love, and he tells all the jokes, and he's totally your favorite character. Here's the badass chick, the tough chick, and then here's the dorky cute chick, and that's pretty much all there is to them. There's not much more to them, and it almost feels like they were unnecessary. Honestly, I get they were in the comic book, so you kind of have to put them in. And it's nice for, Hero to have friends, but I don't know. It feels kind of almost like how Atlantis did, where they kind of have too many ideas. They can't fit them all in the movie, but they do a really good job with the core story and the core characters. So I think this is one I liked a lot more after I first initially saw it. I definitely still like it, but I don't like it as much as I did back then. After I saw it, I was like, wow, that was really good. I used to consider this and Wreck-It Ralph the best from the Resurgence, but as you can see on here, I put Tangled considerably higher than it. So, it's good. I like Big Hero 6, but it's not my favorite. It's just like a solid, darn good movie. The next one is Zootopia, and I guess people really like this. It won like Best Animated Picture at the Oscars, even though Moana was way more beloved and it came out the same season. It's getting a sequel this year, but it's supposed to be really successful and really popular, but I don't really ever see many people who care about it. Oh, actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't really see any kids who care about it. You don't see like media, you don't see merchandise for it and stuff. Like, you never really have. It doesn't seem like any kids are that into it. And I gotta be honest, I'm not that into it either. I'm gonna put it in D tier. And I'm gonna have to elaborate on this, because a lot of people like this movie. And I feel like it's more important to elaborate on why you dislike something, rather than when you like something, you just say it's amazing and you can move on. When you dislike something, that kind of warrants more of an explanation. And I guess I gotta go each note at a time. First, it's about the kid thing. I saw this movie in the theaters with kids, actually. It was me and my brother and his girlfriend at the time, her younger sister and younger brother. She was considerably older than her siblings. Or not younger brother, it was just two younger sisters. And we actually saw Big Hero 6 with them also. And his girlfriend. But this time, like, his girlfriend wasn't there, so, like, she asked if, like, we could take them to the theaters. So we took these two girls there. One of them was, like, 12 or 13. The other one was, like, 9 or something. And I remember they didn't really like it. I feel like when they came out of Big Hero 6, everyone was excited, everyone liked it. But when we came out of Zootopia, there was just kind of this awkward, quiet silence when we came out. And I was kind of trying to, like, hype people up. It's like, who was your favorite character? That fox, he was funny, right? And they were just kind of like, eh. They didn't really seem to like it. And the only people I've really seen who really like this movie are adults. And I feel like it was made for adults. Actually, mostly furries. Most of the people who like this movie seem to just be furries. And that's just like, they're gonna like anything that's like, animals living in a human society. But not saying that they can't find something of value in this movie. If they think it's good, that's fine. But it just seems like this was kind of made for adults. I don't really feel like this is like a family movie. And so it's hard to talk about this movie because I never ever want to talk about politics on this channel. I don't think my audience needs to know my political opinions. I'm never going to ever mention those on the channel. I'm never going to let you know how my political views go. But it's kind of impossible to talk about Zootopia without at least touching on politics, because the movie is very much about its social messaging and its political messaging. And, I'm not going to say if I agree with what they're saying or if I disagree with what they're saying, or if I agree with some of it and disagree with the other. I'm not even going to bother saying that. I'm just going to evaluate it as a piece of art, a piece of media. And I feel like the way they convey the message is really poorly done. It's really heavy-handed, and there kind of isn't any metaphor. It's like, it's too real, or too like what the filmmakers believe to be real. Like, one thing I always say about this movie is you go back 30 years earlier than it, and we got The Fox and the Hound, a movie that uses a fox as a metaphor for racial tension or differences between people, society kind of like telling you how you should treat other people, whether you feel like it's wrong or right or wrong. And they did it so well in The Fox and the Hound. It's handled in such a classy manner. It's not beating you on the head. It's really touching, the story. A kid can watch it and not feel like they're being lectured about society. They're just, sticking up for a character and feeling justice for a certain character. And when they get older, they can look back and be like, oh, that's what that was about. And it kind of conditions them to think the way that the storyteller wants them to think about this topic without forcing it on them. And it also is a much more fair way of doing it, because even the only potential villain of the movie, the hunter, even he's put in a very fair light, and he's kind of seen as not a bad guy also. Like, he's flawed, but he's not seen as like a bad... No one's like a bad person in that movie. Or a bad character, I should say. And it's really sophisticated, the way it's written. Fast forward to another movie 30 years later about a fox, where they're trying to, talk about those same things. But there's no metaphor. It's not like, oh, hunting or anything like that. It's not... Disney, the kids' media as a whole, especially Disney, should be like a fantasy, a getaway and stuff, like, an escape. And instead, this turns into corrupt politicians and schemes, like Watergate-level schemes and stuff, and, like, political sabotage, and, like, it turns into, like, these news channels, like the news programs, talking about, like, the prejudice going on in society. And it's showing, like, protests and stuff, and, like, celebrity endorsement for protests for causes. And it shows, like, segregation, like, social segregation on a train, where, like, someone doesn't want to sit next to someone else on a train and stuff because they think they're a bad person. And it's just like, this isn't a metaphor. This is just you trying to portray what you think is actually happening in society, or what may actually be happening in society, whatever you believe. It's not a metaphor anymore. And like I said, I don't. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with what they're saying. I just think the way they do it isn't well done, and I feel like it's just beating you on the head and telling you what this is a metaphor for. This is what we're talking about, and it kind of feels like it just has no faith in the audience. Like, it just expects you to be idiots. And it has to, like, spell it out completely. It's such a weird movie, too, because it's so weird. It feels really long. I was actually shocked to find out it's not the longest Disney movie. It's one of them. But I thought this thing was, like, 2 hours. It's, like, an hour 48, which is still long for a kid's movie. But the first half of it is, like, just a bunch of comedy sketch scenes where, like, oh, we go to the hippie yak and he's funny. Then we go to the slow sloths at the DMV and they're funny. And it's just like funny scene with character, like one after the other. The funny Godfather shrews and stuff. And then halfway through, it turns into what I just described, like this big kind of emotionally charged rant, kind of. And it's really bizarre, and it just kind of goes through the motions. Like, oh, there has to be a point where the two main characters get mad at each other for something. One character does something out of line, and then the other one, leaves them, and then they come back, like, literally, like, 3 minutes later and patch it up in 2 seconds. And I don't know. I hate the Shakira song for it. I don't like the Shakira song. They keep playing through the whole movie, and I just don't think the world is that magical or interesting. They try to really play it up like it is. When Judy first goes to Zootopia, it's supposed to be like, oh, look at this place. It's so creative, but it doesn't strike me that way. To me, it's just kind of, I don't know. It's not great. Not a huge fan of Zootopia. Honestly, it's one of my least favorites. I feel like every time I watch the movie, I like it less and less. I think I've seen it about 3 times now. And every time I see it, I like it less and less. I just feel like there's no subtlety to it. And there's nothing to enjoy outside of the messaging. It's just the messaging. And honestly, I would just tell someone, if you want to watch a movie about this topic done really well with these animals, well, one of them, watch another Disney movie. Watch The Fox and the Hound. I'm not very excited for Zootopia 2 coming out because I don't really want any more Zootopia. I mean, I already don't like sequels to Disney movies anyway. I don't think they should have sequels. But especially the movie, I didn't even like the first one. I really honestly don't really like Zootopia. The only reason I'm even putting it this high, honestly, I don't even think I should put it this high because I really don't like this movie. But I think it's at least a better made and more memorable movie than something like Aristocats. So I guess that's the only reason I'm putting it that high. But I don't know. I don't like the movie that much. And sorry. But that same year, they put out Moana. And that was kind of weird that they put it out like the same exact year. But Moana is fun. I don't know if I can say it's good enough to be I'd put it after The Emperor's New Groove. I think I enjoy Moana more than Frozen, but I can't lie and say it's a better movie than Frozen. And that's mostly because some of the comedy in Moana is really grating. Twitter jokes and stupid crap like that. It's that very like hyper crazy kind of humor that we always have to get in modern kids movies, where they just never stop with the jokes, and they every character talks like a character from today, like a person today. It's not like timeless like you watch a lot of the older Disney movies. You watch the Renaissance ones, like The Little Mermaid, and it's like, okay, Buddy Hackett is funny as Scuttle, but like, it's timeless. Like, he's not talking like somebody from 1989. He's not using like current day slang or ways of talking or anything. It's just a timeless, funny performance. Whereas, like, in Moana, everyone just talks like a Zoomer. Like, it's just like a Zoomer movie. But that's not the biggest problem with Moana. I think the biggest problem is a problem with the Resurgence as a whole. And that's that it has the same structure as Tangled. Tangled, let's just backtrack and talk about it again. Tangled has a female lead who is stuck in one place her whole life, wants to get out, see the world, go on adventures, and then enter male lead. They end up on a misadventure together. He's arrogant, he's cocky, he's always got one eyebrow down and one eyebrow up and a smirk on his face with his eyelids half closed. He's the funny one, he tells all the jokes, he's super confident, crazy ego. He's a ruffian, he's kind of a rogue, kind of a scoundrel, kind of like breaking the law and stuff. And they end up on some big adventure together. They grow close, and then something happens where they get separated, and then in the last few seconds they have to come back together and save the day. That is exactly the dynamic in Zootopia. The exact same dynamic. You have a female lead who's stuck in a place her whole life, wants to go out and see the world, gets to go out there someday, finally. Oh yeah, and she's always like kind of dorky and quirky, and and hyper and stuff, kind of like the way Rapunzel was. Rapunzel made sense though, because she was like stir crazy, because she was literally locked in a tower for her entire life for like 18 years or something. But anyway, female lead, stuck in one place for a while, not allowed to leave, finally gets out, meets a rogue like guy who's up to no good. Then she finds out his tragic backstory at some point as they get closer and they become friends, and then they get separated somehow, and then 5 seconds later they come back and save the day together. And that's the exact same thing in Moana. It's the exact same dynamic, it's the exact same plot, the exact same character arcs and everything. It's the same movie. They basically made the same movie 3 times, and it just has a different skin. And there's even elements of that in Frozen here and there. Not as bad, but there are elements of that in Frozen. Technically, if you kind of think about it, Bolt is sort of like that, with the genders reversed, where it's like the male character is the sheltered one who wants to go out and see, who ends up going out in this misadventure and seeing the world. And the female lead is the one who's kind of like the, thief or whatever on the streets, who's always got her eyelids half closed and the snarky remarks and stuff. But yeah, like these 3 movies, Moana, Tangled, and Zootopia, all just have like the same dynamics, the same characters. Like the guys all make that exact same face. Everyone, when they heard The Rock was playing now, like, oh, he's gonna do the raised eyebrow. It's like, well, he would have done that whether he was The Rock or not. He's gonna do that because Flynn Rider did that, and then Nick Wilde did that because Flynn Rider did that, and now he's doing it because those two did it. That's just what they do. That's the face they make when they want you to like the funny character. And for that reason, for almost that reason alone, I feel like Moana has to lose a lot of points, because it's the 3rd time they've done the exact same story in like 5 years or 6 years. But also, there's just kind of something missing from Moana. It feels a little empty. Like, it's just 2 characters sitting on a raft in the middle of the water. And I love sailing themes and water and sea monsters and all that kind of stuff. I've said that many times already. I love those kinds of themes. But there is definitely a lack of things happening for some parts of this movie. And the few things that do happen, it feels like there should have been like 1 or 2 more pit stops on their quest. Which is weird, because this movie is apparently long as hell for a Disney movie. It's like over an hour 40, which for a Disney movie, that's long. But yeah, I feel like it could have had some more in it. Because you get the little coconut guys, you get Tamatoa, the big crab, and then you just kind of end the movie. I feel like there could have been like a couple more like dangerous, perilous stops along the way, and it would have felt a little more like a big adventure instead of kind of just coming to an end after that. And I do hate all the meta stuff they do now, where like you can't just do the Disney style things. Like if Disney's known for something and it becomes a trope, they have to like show that they're self-aware and make fun of it. They have to make fun of, oh, this is what Disney princesses are like. They all have animal sidekicks and they sing songs. And they have to make fun of the fact and address the fact that they sing. Like Tamatoa has to address the fact that he's doing a musical number and all, which really raises the weird question of like, are characters actually breaking out into musical numbers in these worlds all the time? Is this like actually a thing that happens? It's not just a way to entertainingly convey what's happening to the audience. Like, it's actually happening in the universe. It's weird when you think of it that way. Like, I never thought that like Ursula was actually supposed to be going into a giant song and dance number in front of Ariel when she's asking for her voice. Like, I thought they were just doing the deal, and they wanted a more entertaining way of conveying that to the audience, because just having them sitting around talking about signing documents wouldn't have been anywhere near as fun in a fantasy kids movie. But from this point forward, they can't do the usual Disney tropes without like making fun of themselves for doing it. And it's like, if you're too embarrassed to just do your own thing, then don't bother. Like, just have faith in your product. And I don't know, they just, some of the stuff is just sloppy like that. Like, they have to do constant like references and stuff. And at the end of the movie, there's the after credit scene where like Tamato is like turned upside down. He's like, oh, if I had a Jamaican accent and was named Sebastian, you would help me. It's like, why did you need to add in and named Sebastian? Like, you could have just said, if I had a Jamaican accent, you'd probably help me, because then we'd be like, oh, he's talking about Sebastian. But it's like, no, you had to like spoil the joke and tell us exactly what it was supposed to be. So yeah, the humor in Moana I don't think is great. There's some good humor, but for the most part, it's not that great. This is another one where I think like over time, I don't like it as much as I did at first, but I still think Moana is really good. I know I've been like tearing it apart for like the past couple minutes, but I do think Moana is really good. It is really fun. I just think it's kind of heavily flawed, and they just really just used what they've done in recent years as a crutch. They're so embarrassed to do traditional Disney things because they think it's going to come off as lazy and cliche. Yet, meanwhile, they're literally copying their recent structure from movies over and over and over again, and they don't realize how tropey that is. So, yeah, it loses a lot of points for that. But it definitely is a million times better than the worst Disney Animation Studios film of all time, or at least the worst I've ever seen. I can't imagine any of them being worse than this. Ralph Breaks the Internet goes in F tier. Ralph Breaks the Internet is a tier on its own. This movie is disgusting. I hate this film. And I didn't even want to see it when it was first being shown off. I'm like I said, I'm pretty opposed to sequels. I feel like Disney movies wrap up pretty good, where like we see everything that needed to happen to these characters. Wreck-It Ralph ends so nice, such a nice emotional moment, and like an emotional high. And then this movie just comes along, and I don't know, the trailers look so bad. The whole like Disney princess scene, I'm just like, everyone's getting excited for, like, oh, that's gonna be fun. I'm like, is it just doing a bunch of meta crap and stuff? I don't know. But I went and saw it in theaters, and oh my god, this is the worst piece of crap Disney's ever made. I kind of don't even know where to start complaining about it. I could probably do like a 3-hour video just talking about why this movie sucks. I'm not that kind of channel. There's plenty of channels like that on the internet. But as soon as I saw this movie, I had so much to say about it. I hated this film. I guess I'll start with the characters. It completely ruins the characters. It does a very frequent thing people do when they make unnecessary sequels to movies, where they don't know what to do because there's no more stories to tell with these characters. So they just decide, hey, let's undo all the character development from the last movie so we can do it again. The last film, Ralph wasn't happy with his situation, wasn't happy with himself, wasn't comfortable. He went through this whole adventure to find out life isn't that bad. He doesn't need to like cling to certain ideas and things to try to justify his life. And most of all, through helping this kid, Vanellope, who all she wanted to do was race in her game again, he learns to accept his life and just be happy. And Vanellope gets what she always wanted. She's not only part of the game again, but, you know, she's friends with all the other racers, and she's able to race Sugar Rush again. And it ends so well. It's like, oh, this kid spent, like, what, like 9 years or something at the time, or 13 years, whatever the hell, as, like, locked away in this world as, like, a glitch, and she's not allowed to race, and everyone hates her, and everyone treats her like crap. She finally gets to race again. It's her only dream in the world. She finally gets to race again. Beginning of Ralph Breaks the Internet. She's sick of racing. She doesn't like Sugar Rush anymore. She's bored of it. It's like, you ungrateful little booger. Ralph almost killed himself. He tried to sacrifice himself to save her in the movie at the end with King Candy and stuff. He almost sacrificed himself. He almost sacrificed his entire game just to save you and get you to be able to drive in Sugar Rush again. And a few years later, you're like, I'm sick of it. I hate this place. It's like, wow, that is ungrateful. Ralph is now just this weird, clingy, horrible person, like extremely unlikable, insecure person who puts all of his happiness and all of his value on having a friend. And that has to be talked about on its own. There's something weird about the friendship between Ralph and Vanellope in this movie. In the first movie, I felt like they had kind of a dynamic, like Ralph was like the cool uncle. Like, growing up, you always had that cool uncle who was like more fun than your parents. They they acted funny. They might joke with you and tease you and stuff and pretend to punch you or something. And they let you stay up late and watch movies and eat junk food or something. Like, it kind of felt like Ralph was like the cool uncle for Vanellope. He was kind of a father figure, but he was kind of cool and fun, and they could, hang out too. But it definitely felt like he was an adult and she was a child. And at the end, when he's proud watching her race and be happy and stuff, it's like, yeah, I did good. But in this one, they're like bros. Like, they just act like they're bros, like they're equals. Like, he's not a middle-aged man and she's not like a 9-year-old kid. It's weird. It's inherently weird. I don't know. It's hard to watch that and not think it's weird. Especially when you see him, even though Tapper's is a root beer bar, it's just weird to see a bar and see him like meeting a child there every night and hanging out with a child at a bar. Like, I don't know. There's just, it's weird. That's not the dynamic that they had. Like I said, I thought of him more as like an uncle or something to her, but now he's like, they're bros. They're like frat brothers or something. The way they act, it's really weird. I didn't think that's the dynamic they would have after the first movie ended. But it is, and he puts like all of his self-worth on having Vanellope as a friend. And Vanellope gets bored of her world that he's almost sacrificed himself for. And a bunch of stuff happens. They end up on the internet and stuff, and it's a horrible movie. And Vanellope just finds this other world, which is awful. I hate Slaughter Race. It's not funny. They're trying so hard to make it funny, but it's not sticking. The characters are so boring in Slaughter Race, so unbelievably boring and unfunny and uncool. She just wants to go turbo. And in the end of the movie, she's allowed to go turbo, and it's like celebrated. It's like, this was the problem about the first movie. The first movie was Ralph gets bored of his game and doesn't like it and doesn't like living there anymore. He wants to go out and become a hero so he can come back and get a better life for himself. So he leaves his game. And then he finds out how wrong that is and how he actually didn't have a bad life. I mean, he did, but like, he didn't have to have a bad life. He learns that was selfish, and he could have ended up ruining a lot of people's lives by doing that. But in this movie, she's congratulated for it, and Ralph is lectured once again that he's doing the wrong thing, even though she's going turbo. They're both really unlikable in this movie. They're both, like, kind of just disgusting characters, and you really don't like them the whole movie. They're, like, incredibly unlikable characters, and that really sucks because I love the first Wreck-It Ralph, and I'm not gonna lie, Wreck-It Ralph has gone down on my tier ranking because of this movie, and I don't want to do that because it's not fair, but it's just hard to look at these characters looking exactly the way they looked in Ralph Breaks the Internet and Wreck-It Ralph and not be reminded of Ralph Breaks the Internet. The other one of many horrible things about Ralph Breaks the Internet is just its shameless product placement and showing off their other properties. I always say this movie is like watching, I don't have a teenage kid, but if you had a teenage kid and they come home and they make you like look at it, they want to show you everything they bought when they were at the mall or something, and you have to sit there and pretend to be interested. It's like, oh, look, Dad, I bought a Pixar, I bought a Marvel, I bought a Star Wars, I have the Muppets now, I have, look, there's Iron Man, there's a Stormtrooper, there's a ton of stuff from things Disney owns, just Disney plugging their own properties, and like Peter Pan's shadow is in there, and Grumpy is in there, and Eeyore is in there, and Baymax and Buzz Lightyear are there, and somehow Baymax has more fans around him than Buzz Lightyear, which would never ever happen in a million years. But yeah, and it's just so shameless, and it's just, oh, here's eBay, and here's Twitter, and look at all these things, look at all these companies, look at all the companies that paid for this movie to get made. And it really is just like the Emoji Movie. And the Emoji Movie came out first, and the Emoji Movie is absolute garbage. It's a terrible, terrible film. But I would rather watch the Emoji Movie than this movie, because I have no expectations going into the Emoji Movie. You hear that and you're like, oh, this is going to be crap. I have no expectations going into a Sony film. Sony, they don't have the best track record. They have some good movies, but in recent years, they do not have the best track record. A Disney animated film, I have way higher standards for, especially since this is supposed to be a follow-up to a really good one. And it's just as bad as the Emoji Movie, if not worse. Like, the jokes might be better in the Emoji Movie, and they were awful in the Emoji Movie. The big scene everyone loves in this movie is the Disney princess scene. I think it's awful. It just comes off like bad fan fiction. I don't need to see that. And especially for this movie, like, you brought back all these voice actresses. You brought back the voice, the legend, Jodie Benson, to play Ariel and sing. She actually sings, because Jodie Benson's voice hasn't changed at all since 1989. That woman still has an angelic set of pipes on her. She's just an amazing singer. And you brought him back for this, like a meme, like a bad meme. And, I don't know. It's so bad. The jokes are so bad. The whole symbolic water joke is or deep water, whatever the hell is so bad. And it's just them again trying to make fun of their tropes. They make fun of musicals again. They make fun of the fact that they sing songs. They make fun of the fact that they have animal sidekicks and stuff. They make fun of all the tropes. They just did it in Moana, but now they're doing it again because they can't just be Disney. They have to be crapping on themselves all the time. Hearing Sarah Silverman sing is one of the single worst experiences of my life. It makes my ears bleed. And the song is so unbelievably unfunny. It's way worse than even an SNL parody of a Disney movie song or something. I feel like everyone has already done this joke a billion times for 20 years, 30 years before Ralph Breaks the Internet even came out. And Disney's really late to doing it themselves. And it's so unbelievably unfunny when they do it. What an absolutely awful movie. I hate everything about this film. I can't think of anything nice to say about Ralph Breaks the Internet. Honestly, I'm probably forgetting so much I could be saying about this movie. But that's probably good, because we need to move on. But, oh my god, this movie is so bad. It's an absolute insult. It is completely crapping on the legacy of the studio. It is completely crapping on the legacy of Wreck-It Ralph. It is just awful. It's terrible. It's complete garbage with no redeeming qualities. The only The only things I found funny in the movie were things involving Fix-It Felix and Calhoun. In the beginning, when they adopt all the Sugar Rush kids, and they're just like wreaking havoc like a bunch of little brats in their apartment, and Taffeta like just like turns to them like all mad, like, how do you use the TV, mom, or something, like something about what I forget what she said, but like it was actually funny. It actually made me chuckle in the theaters. And then at the end they do the joke where the surge protector guy they're at the Sugar Rush race, and the surge protector guy is saying like, because all the kids are suddenly like angels at the end of the movie, they're like super well behaved, so like how did you parent all of these horrible brats to be like perfect angels? And then like Calhoun and Felix like, oh, it's easy. And then when they go to describe how to do it, all the cars drive by and you can't hear a word they're saying. And that's funny. It should have just cut there. But then they ruin the joke, and after they've done the surge protector guy's like, wow, that's that's the secret to good parenting. If only all the people in the audience could have heard that. Wink, wink, ha ha. And it just ruins the joke. It's like they have no faith in their own humor and their audience. They think they have to like explain everything to you, kind of like the Sebastian joke I was just talking about in Moana. And it kills it. But yeah, Fix-It Felix and Sergeant Calhoun were the only characters I liked in this movie. And you see them for like 2 seconds. I would have rather just followed them for the whole film. Terrible piece of crap. One of the worst animated movies I've ever seen in my life. Maybe my least favorite animated movie I've ever seen in my life. I hate Ralph Breaks the Internet. Frozen 2 is hard to get that worked up over. It's definitely nowhere near as bad as Ralph Breaks the Internet, but it ain't good. I'll tell you that much. This might be controversial. I'm putting it below Chicken Little. I might change my opinion on that at some point, but it's pretty bad. You want to talk something that feels like it was made up as they were going along. I don't think they had like 6 or 7 years to write this movie, and they wrote it the night before it went into theaters. Like, out of this movie is just nonsense being made up as it goes along. And I know Frozen 1 was being reshot a lot, or like reworked a lot before it was finished, but like they didn't have a prequel to work off of. It wasn't like an established world. They had to make it up. This was like they had like more than half a decade to come up with a sequel to Frozen, and they didn't. And what they came up with just seems like a bunch of random crap. It just seems all over the place. God, I don't even know where to start. The writing is so bad. Just the fact that there's like water cutscenes. They're like, oh, water retains the memories of everything. And so water can show you history or whatever. Which doesn't make any sense, but okay. But they basically they use that as an excuse so that Elsa can like turn water into snow or ice or whatever, and they can like watch like an FMV video, like a cutscene of like something that happened to further the plot. And it's so crappy. So like they end up in like where it's like a crashed ship, and it's like, oh, it turns out this is where your parents were, and suddenly they just start seeing some water FMV video. And it's like, oh, this will explain everything that happened to your parents. And they just retcon a bunch of stuff, too. They're like, oh, they were actually gone because they were trying to help Elsa, who they locked in a room and told never to feel anything. They were actually good people, because everyone complained about that in the first movie, so they had to retcon it in the second one and try to make the parents out to be really good people. And yeah, they just see like, oh, here's all the story you need to know for the story to move forward. It reminds me of Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. Absolutely awful movie. Way worse than Frozen 2. But Multiverse of Madness, where there's like the tragic backstory exposition sidewalk. They end up in a dimension that has sidewalks that when you step on them, a giant hologram screen appears and starts showing your tragic backstory like to everyone around, which makes no sense. Why would you build that? It's like, oh, it takes what you're thinking about and projects it. Like, most people walking by, you would just start seeing really, really dirty fantasies popping up in there. It would be like, an adult theater on that sidewalk. But yeah, it was just like, oh, so one by one, Doctor Strange and America Chavez can walk across this sidewalk and see each other's tragic backstories. That's a really easy way of never having to make the characters actually connect and have meaningful conversation. You can just do this instead. And that's what Frozen 2 feels like. You just see water cutscenes of stuff when it's convenient. Elsa is particularly badly written. I mean, there's stuff like there's characters that seem like they're going to be important. Like there's the people in the woods. I don't even know what to call them, like the people in the woods. And there's like one scene at night, a campfire, where it seems like Elsa and this one girl are going to become like friends. Like this is going to be like a bond they have, and it's going to really matter in the movie. And you never see that woman ever again, really. She never plays a role like in anything after that, I believe, for the rest of the movie. I haven't seen this movie in years, but that's how I remember it being. And Elsa's a horrible sister. Elsa is a terrible person, kind of. And I don't think that's intentional. I think the writing is just so sloppy and loose and bad that they don't realize they're doing it. So, like, already in the first movie, Elsa, like, created a giant, scary, spike-covered ice monster to attack her sister, who picks her sister up, throws her out of the castle, and then starts chasing her and trying to kill her. Like, she could have very easily killed her sister there. Like, she could have just, like, the big snow golem could have come back, and I think Marshmallow was his name, comes back, and Elsa's like, oh, did you get rid of them? I was like, yeah, I killed them, they're gone. And she would have been like, oh, crap, I didn't mean for that to happen. But in this movie, at some point, because Anna's great, I love Anna, because it's like, Anna doesn't have superpowers, Anna doesn't have all this bull crap. She doesn't have, like, ice magic or any of that stuff. She's not a sorceress. She's just a regular person, but she gets stuff done. She always rushes into whatever needs to be done to help the people she loves and cares about. And she doesn't care about the impossible odds. She did it in the first movie, and she does it in this movie. But Elsa has all the superpowers in the world. She's, like, unstoppable. She's, like, a god, basically. But she's just an emo and feels sorry for herself and kind of sucks at everything and messes everything up until, like, the final second in the movie. She can just do something real quick and everyone thinks she's a hero. It happened in the first movie and it happens in the second movie. And there's a part where, because, Anna forces her way to go on this journey with Elsa, because she's like, I'm not going to lose you again. I'm not going to let that happen. And at some point, Elsa has to go do something dangerous, whatever it is, I forget what it is, and Anna wants to come with her. And Elsa creates an ice canoe in the water, the rapids behind Anna, and shoves her and Olaf onto the canoe, and the canoe goes, first of all, it's freezing cold, poor Anna, girl's gonna be chafing for like a month after that, but she's sitting on an ice canoe, and the two of them are, and they go down these, like, crazy rocky rapids, which alone could just kill you. And Elsa has no idea where those lead to. She doesn't know if those go to a giant waterfall, and she doesn't know if those go to the ocean. She has no idea where this goes. She just sends her sister down on a slippery piece of ice down the river to hell, basically. And Olaf, who's like I don't know, like her son? What do you call Olaf? I don't know. And goes off on her own, because it's like, it's supposed to be like, oh, I don't want you to get hurt. But it's like, well, it's way more likely she's going to get hurt or killed now with what you did to her than if she just went with you. So it's like, she sends them to die, basically. They end up in some cave completely alone. And all Anna has, Anna's like, I can't do anything. I can't save the people I love. All I try to do is save people, and it never works. And then the only thing she has is her friend Olaf, and he literally dies in her arms. We watch Olaf die. Elsa killed Olaf. Olaf is dead because of Elsa's actions. And Anna's miserable, holding her melted dead friend. crying, and then she sings the most depressing, miserable song ever. That's like kind of uplifting, but kind of also like, I'm gonna fight to survive because what the hell else am I going to do? That's just what I do in life. This is what life is, I guess. It's like, it's not really uplifting. It's kind of just depressing. And yeah, this all happens because of Elsa. And Elsa like trains like a water horse and turns it into an ice horse and whatever. And like gets to like Snow Island where she's like in like a snowy cave, and she sees a bunch of water FMV videos, and she sees like herself singing Let It Go from the first movie. She's seeing a bunch of memories, which again raises the question, like, did you actually perform that musical number? That one's extra weird because you were by yourself. Who were you performing it for? Who were you speaking to when you said the cold doesn't bother me anyway and looked right into the camera? And also, earlier in the movie, how did Olaf know about that? He like imitates her dance from Let It Go when they're doing charades and it's supposed to be Elsa, and everyone gets it's Elsa, but it's like no one saw Elsa do that but us. So how does Olaf know that? So yeah, but then that's like them making fun of Let It Go, because there was the big thing when the first movie came out where so many people were like, oh my god, I'm so sick of that song, I hate Let It Go, no, we hate Elsa, even though everyone loved Elsa. But so Disney felt like shameful about that, so they had to like make fun of Let It Go in the new movie. But it's like the only reason this movie grossed so much freaking money, more money than the first one, is because everyone loved Let It Go so much. But anyway, so like she like sees that when she was performing that musical number, which I guess actually happened. I guess she really did that. And she gets like embarrassed by it. And it's like, dude, you don't have to be embarrassed by like your last movie, your extremely successful movie. And also it's like, that was not like a pretty good point for you when like you broke free and you were finally like able to be who you are. And why are you embarrassed by that? It was the single best scene in the first movie, so I don't know why you're embarrassed, but it's just Disney being embarrassed because people made fun of them and hurt their little feelings. But yeah, she sees all this stuff, and then she just kind of like dies. So like Elsa's like temporarily dead and like frozen over. And then at some point when like Anna's like getting golems or rock giants, whatever the hell they call them, to like throw rocks and whatever was happening, Elsa like breaks out, and she has some new costume that you can go buy dolls of. And they don't say it in the movie, but according to like Disney, that's like when she becomes the Snow Queen. I thought she became the Snow Queen in the first movie, since it was supposed to be an adaptation of the Snow Queen. I know it's not the same story at all, but like I thought basically when Let It Go happens, that was her becoming the Snow Queen. But no, now she's the Snow Queen. And now she like rides her ice horse all the way across the water in like 2 seconds, stops a tidal wave from hitting Arendelle with like some giant shield thing. Like she just creates a giant shield thing. I guess it's made out of ice. It doesn't really look like it is, but I guess it is. It's like that's one of her powers too. And it just conveniently saves the village. It's just like, I don't know, everything just seems like, and then this happens, and then that happens, and they don't think about how that affects the characters and who they are and everything. It's just, things just kind of happen. And then it ends where like Anna's now the queen of Arendelle, and Elsa's the queen of walking around in the woods. Like I don't really know what is she at the end of the movie? She just wanders around the woods with the woods people that she kind of bonded with one of them for like 2 seconds in the movie, and that was it. That's her destiny. She just wants to be a person who walks around in the woods, and then every now and then it's like she gets invited back to Arendelle to play charades, which she didn't even like doing at the beginning of the movie anyway, because she's like always in a bad mood. Like at the beginning of the movie, she's just kind of like being emo and unhappy because the story needs her to be, even though like all like the stuff like Frozen Fever and the Olaf Super Magical Mega Christmas, whatever it was, she's like totally happy and normal and cheery and all about family life and stuff and hanging out with friends. And now in this movie, suddenly she's like sad again because she's hearing voices or whatever. And it's just like, I don't know, she's annoying. Like Anna's not like that. Anna's super upbeat and likable, but she actually does all the hard work and stuff. Also just kind of mopes around and feels sorry for herself, and then gets the glory and gets to save the day in the big spectacular cinematic way in the end. So screw Elsa. Screw all like the new. I like Elsa. Don't get me wrong. I'm just joking. But screw all like the new elemental things. That they really missed the opportunity to have like a fire queen and like an earth queen and a wind queen. Instead, it was just like a little salamander that like made fire, like a little lizard or something, or amphibian, like a little salamander or something. I couldn't tell if it was like an amphibian or like a lizard. Some rock giants who are just sleepy jerks, and then the wind. They couldn't come up with something for the wind, so it's just the wind. And I get like a lot of this stuff is based on like Nordic mythology and all, but like you're not following the Snow Queen anyway, so like you might as well just make up your own stuff that the audience would like. It's just extremely underwhelming, and it's kind of a downer of a movie. It's kind of depressing for most of it. It's weird that they try to be funny, like what's his name, Kristoff, like his story's kind of funny where he's trying to like propose to Anna. And then, like, Olaf is still supposed to be funny here and there when he's not dead. Yeah, I don't know. The comedy feels weird. It feels like a big downer of a movie. It feels like a pretty depressing movie. So, I don't know. The comedy feels kind of out of place because, for the most part, the movie's kind of a downer. I felt kind of down when I was done watching this in theaters. So, Frozen 2 is pretty low. I probably went on way longer about that than I needed to. I don't think I needed to say the whole plot like I did, but I don't know, I just kind of needed to articulate how randomly the movie is strung together. But it is not anywhere near as bad or boring as Raya and the Last Dragon. Raya is probably the most forgettable Disney movie ever made. A lot of people say it's massively copying Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've never watched that show, so I don't know how much it might be copying it, but I'll take their word for it. I just think it's really uninspired, really boring. The characters are boring. I remember almost nothing about it. It kind of is like a redo of Mulan, because it's like, oh, this is the second, like, I guess not the second Asian Disney movie. They also had a Big Hero 6 and stuff, but like ancient Asian one. It's like, oh, a young girl has to save her village and her father, and by doing that she has to go on a misadventure with a dragon voiced by a comedian. Only in the Mulan, the dragon's voiced by Eddie Murphy, who's a freaking legend, and in Raya and the Last Dragon, it's voiced by Awkwafina, who's completely insufferable and sounds like she's been eating a carton of cigarettes every day since she was 9 years old. I mean, I know that's mean, but like, I don't know, I just don't like Awkwafina's voice. It's got a terrible cast of characters. I remember there's being this like ridiculous scene where she's like making this big speech to like her party of characters at the end about like a motivational speech, and she's talking to like a baby and 3 monkeys. It's like, dude, the baby has no idea what you're saying. The baby's thinking about freaking Coco Melon right now or something. It doesn't even know what the words coming out of your mouth are. It's a baby. It's such a bad ragtag team of characters. There's like a boy who mans the boat who cooks spicy food. That's all I remember about him. There's a baby with 3 monkeys. They're supposed to be the funny, marketable characters, but nobody liked this movie, so they weren't. There's like a warrior guy who's just like the most generic warrior guy ever. I think he's voiced by Wong from Doctor Strange. He's the most generic like warrior guy. Like, oh, we need a barbarian in our D&D team. Just introduce him real quick and slap him in there. He comes really late in the movie too. And then there's the bad guy. She becomes part of it because you can't have bad guys in Disney movies anymore. They always have to be good guys by the end of the film. Just an absolute piece of crap. Just a boring ass movie. Not worth remembering. Completely pointless. Screw this movie. I don't like Raya and the Last Dragon. The next one after that was Encanto. And while I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as Raya, I would put it at the top of D. I don't think it's great. It's definitely the best thing they've made post Moana. Like, you know, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Frozen 2, and all that stuff. Encanto is much better than the rest of those. It's got catchy songs. I do think Lin-Manuel Miranda is kind of overstaying his welcome in Disney. Like, he does everything for Disney now, and his style is just becoming too repetitive. You always notice, like, oh, that's a Lin-Manuel Miranda song. But, you know, it's a good soundtrack. There's a few songs that are particularly good. We Don't Talk About Bruno, of course, that's a really good song. But also, what's the song they play in the flashback to when the grandmother is young? That song is beautiful. That's a really good song. That's probably the best song in the whole movie. But yeah, it's got a pretty good soundtrack, and I like that it's not a princess movie and it's allowed to be a musical. And go figure, everyone liked it. It actually did much better than all the other movies around it because it was a musical. So people, you know, became big fans of the songs, and We Don't Talk About Bruno became a big hit and stuff. So keep making musicals, Disney. Come on. Well, I love the musicals. But when you get into it, the characters in the movie's kind of hyper and annoying, and the sense of humor is kind of annoying. That's just, I know, a generational thing. That's just me being, you know, a millennial and not getting modern style of humor, not liking the modern style of humor. Like in the middle of a song when she's singing with her sister, Isabella, I think is the flower girl's name. Maribel? Is that the main girl's name? Something like that. Muriel, Maribel. She's like doing like she says like the "this is fine" meme as like she's like tied up in vines in the background. There's like all this silly dumb stuff happening in the background of this song. But she quotes the like "this is fine" dog in the burning house meme from like 15 years before this movie. It's like, oh, good job putting a 15-year-old meme in the middle of your song. That's not going to age badly. I think the comedy is pretty bad in this movie. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem, I think, is just the writing. It's just the story. I've been saying this so much in, like, the post-turn of the millennium movies, but there's some really unlikable characters. And the grandma is pure evil. She is the villain of the story. And so Bruno, they all have magical powers. That this miracle happened where these candles lit, gave them a magical living dancing house. When you turn a certain age, every member of the family, like, a door gets your name on it, and then it opens up, and there's like some mini universe in there that represents what you like and your superpower. And it sounds like the kind of thing I would have wrote with my siblings playing in the backyard when I was like 6 years old. Like, it sounds ridiculous, and it plays out just as ridiculously as it sounds. So Bruno's power was he can see the future. And he told some people some things they didn't like that was going to happen. He didn't even want to tell people the future anymore because it like scarred him how mad people got at him. So she completely disowns him from the family, banishes him from their magical dancing house, and basically just leaves him to be a homeless guy. He's almost homeless. He's still living in like the walls of the house. Like he's like a monster or something. He's the Phantom of the Opera or something. And he's gone completely just nuts. He's like lost his mind. And it's really sad. And the grandma and the rest of the family just spread all of these rumors about how he's this evil supervillain, like wizard, like he's Rasputin from Anastasia or something. Like he's this evil, horrible, wicked sorcerer. And it's like, damn, that's like your family member. And then Mirabelle, I think her name is Mirabelle, finally meets him and finds out, oh, he's just a nice, crazy guy because he lost his family. And then when she like brings him back at the end, the family's all like, oh, Bruno's back, my brother. And it's like, no, you treated this guy like he was a supervillain for years. You left him for dead. Screw you. Yeah, the morals just kind of suck in the movie, honestly. I feel like there's no redeeming how they treated Bruno. And I don't like the ending either, where it ends where they all get their powers back. And they all get to be special and magical forever again. And I feel like the lesson should have been... Because, like, you know, it starts off like everyone in the village loves them, which in real life, if a family had a bunch of magic and magical powers in a dancing house, everyone else in the village would get very envious and probably hate them and probably plot to kill them. Because that's how humans, unfortunately, usually are. But no, in this world, they all love this family. Everyone loves just going there and watching them do all their magical crap. And, it ends where they get all their magical powers back and they're able to just live their special life where their house dances and does things for them and everyone in town loves them and they're just celebrities and everything's great and swell and perfect. But the whole movie, Mirabelle doesn't have a quirk or superpower, whatever the hell you want to call it. And she never really gets one. And it's like implied what it could have been in the end, but it's like, I feel like the moral should have been that the power of Mirabelle was to prove that we don't need these powers to be a strong family and be a good family. And like they got so wound up in the powers and identifying people by their powers and stuff that they pushed Bruno away because of it. They tore the family apart and ruined everything. And Mirabelle helps unite the family. She gets along with Isabella at the end. She makes all of them friends. And brings Bruno back and shows them, like, this is all we needed all along. We don't need superpowers. We don't need Hulk strength. We don't need to control the weather. We don't need all these magical powers. We're not the Fantastic Four. We just need family. That's the strongest superpower of all, is the love of family, the unity of a family. And then they can all learn to, from that point on, they're strong enough where they don't need the superpowers anymore. And they can just... live a normal life and realize that they were just living a cushy fantasy before that. I feel like that's the obvious way to end it, but instead it just ends where, no, we get everything back, the house is magical and dancing again, and everybody's got superpowers again, and everyone in town loves us and comes over and just tells us how great we are, and it's just like, oh, well, characters didn't really learn much. And I know that might make some people mad, because I know a lot of people really like this movie, if anyone's even watched this video to this point, because it's a long video. That might make someone mad, but I don't know, that's just how I feel. I feel like the movie's kind of a mess in that way, and I feel like its messaging is kind of all over the place. But I don't think it's terrible. I think it's one where, like, I think I've seen this one about 3 times. Every time I see it, I like it less and less. And also, anytime I see it, when you're done watching it, you're like, yeah, it was pretty good. And then the next day, you're thinking about it again, you're like, yeah, it wasn't that good, was that? So I think, like, Encanto is, like, it's almost good. It's almost there. It's definitely the best thing they've done since Moana. But it's not quite good enough, in my opinion. But I don't hate Encanto. Now, the last 3, Strange World... I always forget this movie even exists. Sometimes I even forget the title of it. I don't have any, like, personal vendetta against it. I just lost interest in Disney by this point, and I have never seen Strange World. I have never seen Wish. My friend Kenny saw Wish with his girlfriend, and they did not like it. They had nothing nice to say about it. Anything else I've heard about it sounds really dumb. Trying to create a cinematic universe out of 80 or 90 years of Disney animated films is ridiculous. Everything I've heard about it sounds terrible. I have really no interest in seeing Wish, and I didn't see Moana 2. Again, I don't like sequels. Uh, I like Moana, but I just don't think we need more Moana. I'd rather just see more new stories. Let's get Gigantic. I really wanted to see Gigantic, and that got scrapped, and then they did Ralph Breaks the Internet instead. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, Gigantic was going to be a Jack and the Beanstalk film. It was planned to be the next movie after Moana originally. They even, like, tease it in Zootopia. They say, like, there's like the fourth wall meta Deadpool humor where, like, the guy, like, Duke Weaselton is like, he's like selling bootleg DVDs. He's like, we got everything. We got stuff that hasn't even been made yet. And it shows like a Moana parody with animals, and then it shows Giraffic, and it's like the Gigantic parody. It's like Jack and the Beanstalk, but he's like climbing a giraffe instead. So it's like that joke in the movie makes no sense now because that movie never came out. And I know they said the movie was shelved. It's technically not canceled. They could pick it up someday. They said it was because they couldn't agree on what to do with the villains, which probably means someone wanted to have no villains. But I don't think that's actually the case. I think the case is they just thought they can make a lot more money off of sequels than actually making a new movie. I really think they need to get back to their roots, to just adapting fairy tales, putting their own spin on it, having musicals, being a little more wholesome, a little more timeless again. Like, I just want to see Disney go back to being amazing. Because, like, I know I get to the end of this tier list, and I've really just been complaining about most movies. I don't want to sound like I hate Disney. You know, like, I don't like what current Disney has been making, but, like, hell, I made this whole tier list because I love this library of work, and I love Disney's films, and I want them to continue that legacy. I want them to keep making these great movies, and it's been really a bummer to see them just fall like this, because during the Resurgence, even though, like, you know, the Resurgence doesn't hold up as well for me as it did while it was new, they were still, like, doing good. They were kind of getting hit after hit after hit, and at some point, just after Moana, they just fell. And it's sad. I want to see them come back, because I love Disney. I think the one after Zootopia 2 is supposed to be an original film. Then they're doing Frozen 3, which is like, why? And I guess after that, they're going to start going back to doing original films. So I really hope they turn it around. Honestly, I don't want to hate Disney anymore. I hate hating Disney. I love Disney animated films. When it comes to animated movies, Disney Animation Studios is my favorite, like, of all the studios. I like Pixar, but I don't love Pixar anywhere near as much as most people love Pixar. DreamWorks is fine, but, you know, they're pretty hit or miss. But Disney Animation Studios, they're just something special to me. They seem like just like the elite animated movies, the best of the best. And it's really a shame to see them go downhill. So here's being hopeful that I can fill up these A tiers, B tiers, and maybe even S tiers with more movies in the coming years. But for now, this is my Disney tier list. If I do see Wish or Moana 2 or Strange World, I'm not going to, like, add a video where I put them into the tier list. Like, we need a substantial amount of movies before I come back to this. It's going to be years before I come back to this. But I feel like for now, this is a pretty good representation of my Disney tier list. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of bias. There's a lot of 90s movies at the top, because those are the ones I grew up with. I was a kid when those came out, so they were kind of made for me. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I know this has been really long. I don't expect many people to watch this whole video, but hopefully you do. And hopefully you had fun watching it. Hopefully you don't get too mad about my opinions. Anything I said is just my opinion. If you like any of the movies I ranked low, that's fine. I'm not telling you you're wrong. Everyone's allowed to like whatever they like. If you think The Little Mermaid sucks, and you think The Rescuers is the greatest movie ever, you think Zootopia is the best movie ever, and Tarzan's garbage, you're totally allowed to think that. That's totally justified. This is just my personal list, my favorites, and I hope you enjoyed. So,
Do all the liking and subscribing and the sharing and the bell stuff.